A Marine is characterized as one who possesses the highest of military virtues. He obeys all orders, respects his seniors, and strives constantly to be the very best at everything he does. Discipline and spirit are the hallmarks of a Marine. You too can become a Marine if you develop discipline and spirit. We will give every effort to train you, even after some of you have given up on yourself. You're listening to Two Marines, One Mic.
What's up, world? You're listening to Two Marines, One Mic. As always, I'm Phil.
And this is Wade.
And we're your hosts. What? Bow, 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 bow.
Cut!
If this is your first time listening with us, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. That's really cool. We have a really special episode planned out for you guys today, but before we go any further, Wade, what's the purpose of the podcast, man?
The purpose of this podcast is to give you, the listener, information, skills, and tools that we learned in the Marine Corps that could be applied to the civilian world and ultimately improve the quality of your life.
Man, that's really awesome. So I hope you guys are excited to listen to us. We hope that we're providing some value to you and you're getting something out of these podcasts that we're doing. Like I said, today we have a special episode planned with a very special guest, our friend Kevin Armentrout. Kevin, how are you, dude?
I'm great, man. I've been excited for this for quite some time, so I'm stoked to be here. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it, man. So usually we'll do a topic of the day, and I think today's topic, after reading your book, we're going to talk about priming and like mental toughness and mental conditioning. How's that sound?
Awesome. That's right up my alley.
So I was reading your book, and we were looking at some things like, having all of the knowledge in the world and being able to know all of the information and even putting some action in behind it and still not being able to really get what we're looking for done.
Yeah, that's probably I think the biggest thing in honestly today's society, even in that aspect, is, we live in the information age, and information is abundant and it's out there for just about any topic that you might be pursuing. And it just seems that it falls to the wayside for a lot of people because it's just information at the end of the day if there's no action behind it. You can have all the information in the world, but if you don't know how to apply it, you actually don't know what to do with it. And that's the biggest thing I think that I try to stress in the book, and what I've picked up over the years along the way is how to take that information and how to turn that into knowledge on what to know, what to do, and then how to really kind of get to the next step, which is acting on that. You can read all the information in the world, but until you actually close that book, get up and do something about it, it's pointless information at that point.
And how do you get your butt off the couch? Like what are some of the tools in the book for the listeners and future readers? What are some of the tools that they could apply that you feel, because you've worked in fitness for a long time, and we both know how hard it is just to take that first initial step to light that fire?
Yeah, I think when it boils down to the first initial step is really starting to get into what is it that you actually want. And I think a lot of people honestly just aren't that honest with themselves. So there is a section in the book where I talk about goals more than anything else, and it's really trying to understand what your goal really is. And it's not that people out there have bad goals or that people, are lying to themselves. It's just they're not completely honest. I like to always use like Tony Robbins kind of aspect of, people say, hey, I want to make more money. Well, here's $1, go away. And they say, that's not what I meant. Well, you have to be honest with yourself the same way that you should be with other people. And so when you start limiting yourself to goals of I want to lose weight, or I want to make more money, or I want a better job, all these things are just kind of like one-liners, if you will, or things of just monetary value of, I wish I had a Lamborghini, or I want to make more money, or I want a dream home. All great goals in a sense of accomplishments, but none of them really great goals in sense of purpose. And that's really what's going to drive you in those initial steps, because it's been my experience, and Wade, I'm sure you've seen it in the fitness industry. And honestly, it's kind of what the Marine Corps is bred on, is that it's very easy to give up on yourself. It's very difficult to give up on the brothers to your left and right. It's very difficult to give up on family members, the people that are counting on you. Disappointment goes a long way, and I think a lot of people carry that a little bit heavier. So in the terms of goals, the idea is to dig a little bit below the surface of just the monetary or the one-liner goal, and what's the real purpose. So when somebody tells me, hey, they want to lose weight, I go, that's great, that's a number, but nobody just woke up and said I want to lose 50 pounds. What did they really come to me for? And it could be a number of reasons, but that's why I usually try to dig at them and try and find out. And that's kind of what people have to do for themselves is, is it because you're no longer sexually attracted to your partner, or they're not sexually attracted to you? Are you embarrassed of how you look in front of your children. You know, was there a bad incident? You know, I use one in the book, and it's an actual client of mine that stood in line at an amusement park with their children all the way up to the ride, and then got there and didn't fit in the ride. And what does the kind of the ride worker at Disney do when they just go, you can't ride, sir. I can't get the buckle down on the roller coaster. And they go, oh, okay. So they have to get out, which is an embarrassment. You're just in front of a line at Disney. And then you have the children looking at you and say, hey, sir, they're under a certain ride height. They have to be with you as an adult. They can't ride alone. And so he has to sit there and go, sorry, kids. We just stood in that 2-hour line for nothing. Let's go get some ice cream. Like, there's no way to win that battle, you know? So, I mean, when you take that and you wrap it around, yeah, he wants to lose weight. But there's a big underlining reason behind that is very purpose-driven. And I think that's the initial kicker of how do you get off the couch. Be honest with yourself. Take whatever goals that you're looking at, whether that be weight loss, health, fitness, business, relationships, finances, it doesn't matter. What is the real purpose behind it? And if you don't have one yet, or you haven't identified it, then you really need to kind of do some soul searching and ask yourself, why do I really want to make more money? Why do I really want a different job? You know, those are all things I think that really are going to then initiate you to light that fire.
Yeah, dude, I think one of the things that you talked about that hit home most for me, man, was if you can't do it for yourself, write down people that you don't want to let down, right? So you're doing like that gentleman that you were talking about with the roller coaster. It's not the 50 pounds, right? It's the children, right? He humiliated his kids in public, and he never wants that to happen again. So the fear of that happening again is going to drive him to set, a standard for himself, whether it be with weight loss or fitness or whatever he wants to do. And that's a really similar thing for me, man. I had an experience with my mother, man. So I had a really rough time in my life for a while, and my mom pulled out all the stops for me, man. Bank accounts, paying off debt, moving me out of places. And, now, dude, that we're doing all this cool stuff, man, I want to make a lot of money. Money's cool, but it's not because of the money itself. It's not because of the tangible things that I could buy with my money, right? It's not because of the purple Lamborghini. It's because I want my mom to be able to sit back on the couch for the rest of her life and not have to worry about a damn thing. It's because I put her through so much hell that I don't want to watch her suffer anymore, right? So being able to do that for her, right? Because letting her down is a lot more difficult than letting myself down, because now I'm accountable to somebody else. I think that making yourself accountable to other people when you set your goals is a huge deal, man. It's super important to do.
Yeah, that's a big step in the goal process, man. I totally get where you're coming from. And I think a lot of those things goes right back into the mental toughness and kind of the mindset that I kind of coach and preach the entire book, which is everything happens in life. You have the ability to shape it however you want. So, the same thing that can break you down can be the same thing that can build you up. For that individual I talked about, it was just a heart-crushing kind of embarrassment at an amusement park with his own children. For you, it's a rough time and a rough patch in your life with that your mother bent over backwards to kind of help her own child out like any parent would. I talk about a time in the book where for me it was financially. All things that have the ability to break a person, really beat them down. And it's very easy to kind of take that chip on your shoulder and move forward in life and be like, oh, I've been through so much. Life was so hard. And, I've still struggled out there. And I don't knock people that kind of go that route, but I think it's a much bigger and much more beneficial experience in life when you can take that and go, okay, this happened to me, whether it be my mistake or not, whether it be something that was done towards me or something I did to other people, and go, I have the ability to take this, take all the learning experiences I can out of it, take everything that's there that happened to me, and make sure I set myself up for that to never happen again, or to be a better person for it, or to prosper from it. It's just, you have the ability, and it's just the mental toughness and the mental kind of clarity. And to be honest, in a lot of situations, it's what I would call emotional intelligence. And it's really where you have to be honest with yourself about what's happening emotionally in your life at that moment, and understanding how to not act so much through anger or depression or anything else like that, and kind of really pick the learning experiences out of it and the positivity and the optimism and kind of move forward. And that's exactly what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, I think purpose, Phil and I are both really big on purpose. And after reading your book, obviously you are too. And I love the chapter Purge, Prepare, and Prime. So can you share a little bit about those three things.
Right. So you kind of asked like how to get off the couch and how to get going. And that's all about goal setting and finding your purpose and everything else there. And I think once you're there and you kind of have the information, kind of like how do you hit on, it's like, what's the next step? Purge, Prepare, and Prime is basically the entire heart of the book, honestly. It's probably 3 times longer than any other chapter. And it's my entire basis on what I consider are the tools of the book. So Purge, Prepare, and Prime basically meaning the same thing, is that you need to purge your life of everything that you're getting rid of. I think it's a common practice in the health industry and the fitness world, and probably anybody that's listening that's ever been on a diet has probably ran into somebody or had a trainer or anyone that's told them that, hey, just slowly cut things out of your life, to make slightly better choices. I don't believe in that in any aspect in the terms of things that are not good for me. So when I always worked with my clients in fitness, or whether I'm working with anybody else in a life coaching matter, if it is something that is detrimental to their well-being, if it is something that is not a positive choice, it is immediately cut out and it's removed. You purge it. And that is, that's bad health choices. That's bad, fitness regimens. That's drugs. That's alcohol. And then more importantly than anything, it is people around you that are not going to be a part of what is you.
People.
I'm very loyal. I think that's a blessing and a curse from the Marine Corps. But I'm very loyal to a lot of people that I still to this day would do anything for them if they reached out and gave me a call. But they are people that I knew could no longer be a part of my tight inner circle because we just did not align, whether it be morally or spiritually or just in goals and personality. And you can very fall victim to the people around you. So I talk about it in the book more than anything else, that when you start to make positive changes, be prepared, because your friends and your family were probably going to be the first ones to attack you and criticize you for those changes. And that's a tough one for most people to deal with.
Yeah, dude. So, I totally agree with that, man. Half measures rarely get us anywhere with anything in life. So after I'm done, like, purging, right, I ripped up my kitchen. I've taken everything out of it that's no good for me, and I start to prepare my mind. I start to prepare my body to make better choices, to do the right thing, to get out of bed. And you know what I always notice when I do things like that is I start to see things that are more present in my mind, right? So for me right now, Wade and I are starting a couple of companies, and I'm being...
And this awesome podcast.
And I'm being introduced. I'm seeing more young entrepreneurs. I'm paying more attention on Instagram for some reason to business-minded people. And I think you put it, it's not really a power of the universe, but it's something called the reticular activating system. And I have no idea how that works. I'm super interested in like brain patterns and things like that. But your stuff is based on science, man. I'm just going by what I know and what I recognize in my own life.
Yeah, so you nailed it on that one. So as you start to prepare and actually you start to see, kind of focus things towards your own goal, priming is the key, and it's kind of, what you guys want to talk about today. So we'll dive into the meat and potatoes. I'm big on priming, and I'm big on the science behind it, because I feel that the self-help world and kind of the agenda of today is so much of law of attraction and positive thinking, and how if you put good things out into the universe will give it back to you. And nothing could be further from the truth. There's just really no other nicer way to say that. So here's the basic works. Everything is in your mind, and your mind has the ability to do it all. Why purge is so important is because, just like you said, you got to make room for what's important. So you get rid of all the garbage, all the junk, all the mindless feeding, because you're constantly priming yourself every single day with information. And what that is that when you take in information, whether it be visually, audibly, all the senses kicking, you only have so much your brain can handle, because you're taking in, even as you sit right there, we're on this podcast talking to each other, your body and your mind is seeing everything. But it's only going to take certain things and bring it to the conscious mind that it deems important. And that's what the RAS, or the reticular activating system, does. It's like a filter in the brainstem that basically says, okay, this is important. I'll let this go to the mind so that you can be aware of it. This is not important. Boom, boom, boom. I filter that out. Easiest way to explain this, in the simplest of terms is, you go out and you want to, go Jeep shopping. You're looking to buy a Jeep now. And you check out the Jeeps, and then for the next week, you're contemplating if you should buy a Jeep, if it's the right purchase, and you see a Jeep on every corner, in every parking lot, driving past you everywhere you go, and you're like, everybody owns a damn Jeep. But
the 2018 Rubicon.
I own a Jeep.
Yeah, it actually is. But the whole the whole point of that is that people didn't just go out and start buying Jeeps the same week that you wanted to. The universe didn't start throwing Jeeps in your direction. It's just that your reticular activating system deemed that to be important information because you're making a financial decision and you've been weighing on it and contemplating it. So now every time you see one, your brain goes, hey, there's a Jeep. Hey, there's a Jeep. Hey, there's a Jeep. And you're actually seeing all these things now that are brought to light. And how that works in a more priming aspect, and how you can prime yourself with good and negative, aspects is that it's all kinds of different things. I tell people that, there's scientific studies that have shown that if you just hold a cup of warm coffee, you will actually treat somebody with a warmer personality. They've done those types of studies. For me in the younger generation, this is for people with kids, or if you're a younger generation listening, when you're walking down the street, walking through high school, and you're watching somebody be bullied, if you just watched a world star hip hop video of somebody getting beat up and made fun of, you will treat that the odds of you laughing at that somebody getting bullied just went up, 3,000%. Then if you were, say, listening to a podcast about positivity and being a good person and having gratefulness and gratitude, of you walking past that person and stopping that bullying and helping them out. And that's how big priming and how big filtering your mind is so important, is because you could take the same person, but just by what they were interacting with just moments before what they saw can drastically change how they react to it, because their mind is basically being primed for it. In simple studies, it's like if I showed you, if I showed you a picture of a banana and a school bus and, a yellow traffic light type thing, and there's all these kind of pictures, and then I said, pick a color, and you went yellow. And then I showed you a picture of an apple and a stop sign and a red Porsche and everything else, and then I went, pick another color, and you went red. That's all priming aspects, So how you want to do this is you want to set yourself up and prime your own mind. You have the ability to do it to yourself so that you have the results that you want in life.
How do I do it?
So the aspect of where you're going is, say, we'll use fitness as an example like I use in the book, running shoes by the door, changing out flowers for apples and oranges in your centerpieces, loading your fridge with water bottles, putting a fitness key tag on your, your keys, putting a gym bag in the passenger seat of your car. All these things basically are priming you, because when you walk past them, you're reminding yourself of running, fitness, health, hydration, all this stuff. Whether you're consciously taking it in or not, your mind is seeing it. The more and more you see it, the more and more you're kind of priming your mind for it. Then all of a sudden you change your magazines out to fitness mags. You start, like you said, following people on Instagram and Facebook and social media that are associated with what you want. And so, trust me, Google ads and Facebook will take over, and they'll start changing things that pop up on your feed. Because, if I'm Googling fitness, guess what? I'm going to start getting fitness ads on Facebook and Google. That's not always a bad thing,
Wade's YouTube is out of control with like self-help stuff. Like,
yeah. When I turn on YouTube, man, like I get the same motivational videos and all kinds of stuff over and over and over. And it's people that I want in my life. It's the people that I have strategically chose to search, to Google, and to watch over and over, because I know it's going to prime me. I'm never going to open up, YouTube and be sucked in 15 tabs later and be like, oh crap, I've been watching 6 hours of monkeys throw feces and people getting beat up in high school and just dumb, retarded eating contest videos and things like, which are all hilarious and we've all been there and all done it. But what benefit did it bring to my life? And the biggest factor is not just did I waste time, it's how much did it affect my mind when I walked away from that? How much did it affect my positivity? How much did it affect what I was doing for the day? Did it kill my drive? Did I just get up and go downstairs and make a sandwich and continue to watch TV? Or did I watch something that basically triggered me and primed me to pick up a book and read, or get to the gym and and hit a workout, or dive into something else that I want to pursue for business? Those are all things that are priming. So no matter what your goals are, whether it be fitness, whether it be business, whether it be relationships, anything else, you just strategically start placing things and putting things in your life that are constantly going to feed you with the kind of priming and information that are going to drive you towards what you actually want. And that's completely up to you. You have the open mind. You can put into it whatever you want.
I can't agree with you more. I think like subconsciously and even consciously, I make an effort to do that in my own life. And I have someone that will remain nameless, but she's like wired the complete opposite, right? She like feeds her mind the Lifetime network and goes and sees all these horror movies. I won't go to a movie unless it's either a documentary or an inspirational story. Those are the only types of movies I go see.
What about superhero stuff?
And superhero stuff.
That's inspirational.
Totally. So my friend, she constantly feeds herself that all that negativity. And in your book, you talk about the mind being like a garden, and if you're not taking care of it and feeding it and really watching, then the weeds start to grow, right? So this friend of mine, she's on antidepressants, she doesn't work out, and she's kind of, so every time a holiday comes around or a birthday, I just keep buying her self-help books.
Yeah.
And
good.
she's like, I don't want that. I want money. I'm like, I'm going to keep buying you self-help books until you start reading them. I'll read them with you. So I bought her like the 4 Agreements. I was like, I'll read it with you. We could have like our own little quasi book club, but you got to start feeding your mind and priming yourself through every channel, just like you said. And it's easy now because if you start looking up that stuff, it just automatically starts appearing in your life, like the Jeep.
Yeah, see, that automatically appearing in your life. And I think that's where people get misconstrued with, oh, that's the power of the universe, man. I put it out there and the universe put it back. And no, it didn't. It was the mind. And that's how that RAS it works, So it's like you guys sitting there starting to pursue business. And and you said you're following other entrepreneurs. You're looking up, how to bootstrap, how to invest, how to do things, how to I'm sure you're learning, how to podcast platform, how to edit software, how to edit audio. There's how to build a website. All these things start building, into the same fashion that when you're sitting in Starbucks tomorrow and you overhear a conversation behind you about an angel investor looking to, for a nutrition company, you hear that conversation. And you're like, oh, hey, wow, turn around, business card, bam, handshake. And people go, oh, that's the universe throwing it out there. No, it wasn't. You probably heard that conversation 6 times over the past year. You just weren't primed to actually pay attention, and your RAS wasn't even going to let that conversation because that conversation meant nothing to you. There wasn't any words in that conversation that were supposed to trigger into your brain and go, oh, wait, what did he just say? Nutrition? Angel investor? Entrepreneur? Bam, those are everything I want in my life. And you turn around and you talk about it, and that's the aspect. But I guarantee you, if you're sitting there reading Kim Kardashian's latest feed and somebody talks about some Hollywood gossip, you probably heard that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And so you'll turn around in that coffee conversation and go, oh my God, girl, did you hear about what Kanye did? Did you see? And so that's your RAS at work. That's the universe at work. If that's what you want to call it, if you want to call it power of positivity and universe and everything else, you can put whatever label you want on it, but you have the ability to control it. And that's the biggest key factor. You said the brain in the garden, the weeds, and that's the biggest thing I think I want people to always understand is that your brain is always going to continue to take in information till the day you die, and it's always going to grow. So just because you're in your late 20s or 30s or 40s or even 50s, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you are done learning. It doesn't mean that your brain is done growing or it's done taking in information. So if you stop giving it, it's going to find it. And it's going to find it wherever, you put in front of it. If you put Lifetime movies and horror movies in front of it, well, that's the information it's going to take in, and that's how it's growing. And so it's just going to grow in more horror, Lifetime kind of epic films. So if everything you're watching is a depressing nightmare, guess what your life is going to become? A depressing nightmare. That's
right. And I think, so the information in your book, I think it's important to kind of share with our listeners, like this is not there's no combat stories in there. I mean, there are some references of the Marine Corps, of course.
I do one that's called Model the Marines.
Yeah, Model the Marines, yeah.
And Model the Marines has nothing to do with combat, with war, with anything else. I kind of use almost analogies or kind of just things I think that kind of are synonymous with the Marine Corps in terms of things. Prime example, I kind of use IED sweeping in the Marine Corps, where I just talk about follow those in front of you. I think a lot of the times, especially in the entrepreneurial spirit and business, even in fitness world with diets, I feel that sometimes people try to reinvent the wheel.
Arrows in your back, man.
Yeah, they try to feel that they have to blaze this new path and figure it all out on their own. And I think one of the biggest things you can do in terms of just life in general is find somebody that you can mentor or look to as a mentor. And this doesn't have to be, it's always great if you can have somebody one-on-one that can mentor you. But I looked at Tony Robbins as a mentor in a lot of ways in terms of business and life and certain stuff. And it's not like me and him are having phone calls every day by any means. We meet twice a year and we talk for about maybe 20 minutes each time. So it's not that, he has to specifically individually coach me, but I realize that he has done a lot of things in his life that I want to do. So why not mirror that? Why not follow in the same footsteps? And I use the Marine Corps analogy of that. There's times where when you go out and we look for, IEDs, which are improvised explosive devices or bombs on the side of the road, and you have to be very careful where you step. So when you're walking, you walk one person right behind another in a ranger file, and you're literally putting your boot print and the boot print in front of you to make sure that you stay safe and that it's a success. And I kind of use that as in life. Sometimes pick the person that's in front of you, that's leading point, and put your boots right where his boots were. So if he walked the rough life, if you found somebody that maybe you're going through drugs and alcohol, I guarantee you there's a person out there that has overcome drugs and alcohol and is a huge success. Find his story. What did he do to overcome it? How did he do it? Mirror it, mimic it, take all the good stuff from it that you can learn from it. Don't feel like you're this person out there alone trying to figure it all out by yourself. So I think that's a big portion, and those are kind of things in the book that I maybe associate to the Marine Corps. But in terms of war stories and things like that, they're not in there. This is definitely written for every single person, male or female, young or old. It's at the end of the day, it is 100% about how much you have control over your own life in terms of shaping and framing things, how integral the part of the mind is, and what you're taking in information, and then the steps you need to take to break belief patterns and create new ones.
I've gotten so much information out of just what you've shared with us in the past 30 minutes or so. And I know that a lot of people are going to want to follow you, man. Where can we find you? I know your book's called The Relentless State of Mind, and you're doing some promotion with it right now.
Right. So I actually, I wrote the book, and it was a great process for me, and, kind of inspired by Tony Robbins, because I do some speaking for him twice a year. I'll be taking off to Australia next month, which is great. And it's done so well that right now I'm giving it away for free. So you can find me at kevinarmentrout.com. My Instagram is Kevin_Armentrout. But there's basically multiple links through my own Instagram and on my website that you can download an ebook version for free. It's still available on Amazon if you want a hard copy edition. I have a YouTube channel. Everything else is pretty much under my name. So it's any social media platform you go on, Kevin Armentrout is the easiest way to find me. I have kind of a distinct last name, so there's not too many guys out there with the same. But yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to pick up a copy of this book. It is completely free. It's an ebook version. It is a quick read. It's not something that it's going to take you forever. And I think I give it as much information as possible in the simplest terms of English without boring you to death with Marine Corps war stories or too much science. And I've gotten some really awesome feedback and been able to really touch some lives. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've been extremely grateful for, and gratitude is people that have reached out to me and said, hey, man, I've been at my lowest of low. And because of the tools that you've kind of given me in this book, like, my life hasn't been better.
Yeah, dude, you told us a story about you got reached out to the other day, man, and that was really cool. Kevin, we're going to put all of your links, man, to all your social media pages in the description of this podcast, whether you're on iTunes, SoundCloud, or the YouTube machine. You'll be able to find Kevin through us if you can't find him yourself. As per usual, we do a mission of the day. And and we like to give our guests, if we have a guest on the show, we like to give our guests a little wide open space to make the mission for us. So, Kevin, I know you've had some time to prepare for this, man. What do you got for our listeners?
Yeah, so what I really want to do for you guys is talk about morning routine and how great that is in terms of priming, because nothing could be better beneficial for you than kind of priming yourself in the mornings to create just a very good day that's going to be beneficial to you and kind of be productive in everything that you want. So I like to use mine as creating the example for my life, which is exercise and experience and excitement. And I put those together, and what that basically is I wake up first thing in the morning, I give myself an exercise routine. I'm trying to get the blood flowing. I'm trying to just get myself going. And there's numerous ways to do that. And it doesn't take a lot. We're not talking about an hour in the gym. We're talking about you can knock out 50 push-ups next to your bed, 5-10 minutes of calisthenics, whatever it is, just to get that heart rate flowing and kind of get an exercise routine built in. That's going to prime you for a healthier, fitter life throughout the day. And then I go to an experience. And I think experience is one of the biggest kind of things in the morning that just kind of create a good balance for life. An experience for me right now is, I have a 7-month-old little girl, and I love having just kind of quiet daddy-daughter time where it's just me and her, and I get to tune everything else out and just kind of focus on her and experience kind of the laughter that she has in the morning. And for you, that may be, breakfast with your kids. That may be coffee with your spouse. If you're single, that just may be you alone kind of with your own book and just enjoying stuff. But the main thing is that I try to say it's the times where you say, man, I wish I had more time for this. And I think a lot of times that's, just some 10 minutes of no emails, no phone, no social media, just really focusing on you. And then that last one is excitement. And that's where you get into a little bit more of kind of the ritual side of things, to where I like to really kind of meditate and envision, go through some breathing exercises. But I'm looking at 3 things I want to accomplish for the day, and I envision them complete, and I see them being done, and I see how they're going to impact my life, how they make me feel when they're completed. And I look at 3 things that are a little bit further out, 6 months to a year, that I want to complete, and I do the same thing. I really envision what they look like in the completed phase, and how that makes me feel, and how it makes those around me feel, and kind of the joy and happiness I can bring and the impact it'll bring to those that are counting on me. And that's kind of everything that gets me ramped up for the day. So my purpose and kind of task for you and your mission for the week is I want you to create something in your morning that gives you an experience and gets you excited for the day and kind of primes you to set you up each and every day, and kind of make that your morning routine, your morning ritual as you go through.
That's awesome, man. Kevin, dude, thanks so much for coming on, man. We're super excited to link up with you when you come down for Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins here in December. And I think you're going to be in Miami maybe before that. So we're stoked, man. We're excited for you to come over to Florida and see us, man.
Awesome. It's kind of my hometown, so I come back every now and then. But yeah, I have some things possibly going down to Miami in the West Palm area too. And then, hopefully if everything goes well again this year and nothing conflicts, I'll be down there for Date with Destiny in December.
We're actually going to see Tony this Wednesday.
Awesome. Where do you for what?
We're going to it's Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, and Robert Herjavec, man. It's at the Fort Lauderdale or Broward Convention Center, I believe.
That's
really
gonna
cool.
that's
thing,
gonna
man.
be awesome. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. There should be a
So-
lot of valuable information in that talk.
Right?
Yeah,
Pumped.
and we're super stoked for that, man. Guys, if you're listening, if you like what you hear, again, follow Kevin. We're gonna have all of that stuff right in the bottom for you to check out in the description. Our social media is gonna be there as well. Personal pages, our Instagram for 2 Marines, 1 Mike. What?
Semper Fi.
You guys, until next time, we're out.